What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and we're going to talk not necessarily about the leaks themselves, but kind of this update to the leak community. And I gotta say, it's been a wild, couple months. So look, I've been pretty open that I haven't seen much actually at all on these Suicide Squad leaks. I've really tried to stay away. Funny enough, and I have to admit this at this point, today, when catching up with this story of the person who basically started those leaks, right, has come out and apologized, and we're going to talk about that stuff. Well, they gave an example of what they said in the original leak, and I read it. So it's like, well, now I kind of know at least part of the original leak, but I know it with the context that this person has no idea what they're doing. And so I guess, what this video is here. So again, there was a leak a little while ago, and it was a lot of basically audio clips, right? Like that's kind of the crux of it. And it was assumed certain things were going on, and the leak was almost built around that, right? Like, these things are at least set in the game, but the situations of how they happen could be different. Now, we talked about that without actually saying what they were. And then we had Miller Ross, who obviously is very big, in terms of this leaking community for Suicide Squad. He comes out and he says pretty much the same thing. The words, like what they're saying, yeah, that is true, but like this is wildly out of context, right? But the leaker themselves never really spoke up about it. Well, now, fast forward, about like a month plus, since that happened, and the leaker has, well, like I said, apologized. So they issued a statement, and they basically said, hey, I'm sorry, I took those things and I spun it basically out of control. And they end the statement, and I'm not going to show the statement, by the way, because again, in the statement, they give an example of part of the leak, and they say how, like, that was probably wrong, at least the way they kind of interpreted it. So thanks, I guess, to this random weirdo, right, that does all this stuff, really spins things out of control, doesn't actually give, like, the real leak, and then apologizes, but they then spoil it again. So if you can't tell, I'm actually a little bit mad at this person, considering I feel like there was a way to apologize, to say that you messed up, and that, part of, like, I don't even know how you want to explain it. Like, some of the leak is true, words were spoken, but it's not necessarily what happens. But, basically the entire thing is misinformation. That's how they end the statement, by saying, because it's all so messy, it's all so, effed up, that basically you can just walk away from this entire statement saying, everything I said before is just misinformation. Like, just don't trust me, just, leave it alone and all that stuff. That's how they ended this statement. Now, I don't know why you couldn't have done that without also doing the, the extra, what actually happens in the game. So I'm a little ticked off at that one, but there you go. Now, again, I'm still not going to read, a lot of these comments just in case. And I will say this, okay? And I actually said this before. Sometimes, yeah, when you hear a leak, or even if you hear, some of the stuff that's going on in these audio files or whatever, they can sound bad. And, there's kind of the age-old saying of like, well, it can sound bad, but wait until you see it to see the context. I would agree with kind of both sides of that. I think there are situations where it sounds bad, it actually is bad, right? Like, you don't even need to see it to know that it's going to be bad. That is true. Like, that can absolutely happen. And there's also times where, yeah, and maybe this is a situation where the things that are being said, there's way more context to it. There's just way more going on, and you really need that stuff to make it all kind of work. You have to almost reserve judgment until you see that. Whatever side you want to stand on, that's totally cool. I'm literally at a point of just not caring, like, to be flat out honest. And I've said this before, when this game comes out, if they butcher characters, if they butcher, the legacy, if it's an amazing game, if it's a terrible game, I'm going to give it to you straight. I'm not going to hold anything back. And I kind of want that reaction to be as pure and kind of raw as possible. That's why I haven't seen the leaks, or at least I've attempted. Again, now I guess I maybe know one, but maybe not, depending on, I guess, what happens. So we'll see. But ultimately, honestly, because of everything that's happened, I do think this is one of those situations where it's like, look, you can say whatever you want. I'm not going to block people. I'm not going to delete comments. Like, literally, go off. I'm not going to tell you can't talk. That's not the kind of channel that I am. But this might be a kind of situation where, yeah, the game, you need the game's context. And that's all I'm saying. Maybe you don't. Maybe if it sounds bad, it actually is bad. But I think just because this leaker has come out to apologize, because there's kind of been more stuff brought to light, right? This could be an example level where you really need to just not necessarily play the game. You don't have to buy it. You could watch it online, whatever, but you need to see everything in order to fully talk about it. And maybe that is the case. Okay, so we'll see what happens. Again, I want my reaction to be very, raw and pure, so I don't want to see, anything else. And ultimately, if a lot of this stuff was fake that was going around, I think that's maybe good, right? A lot of the people that knew about it, well, now they kind of get to go in, a little bit spoiler free. So it could work out for everybody, depending on how you look at it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.